What's up, everybody? Brett Griffin. You're listening to Door Bumper Clear. We're back from a busy weekend, man. Some great races took place over the weekend. What's up? Freddie, you survived the Bahamas, I see?
Yeah. I think so. I might still be feeling the effects of it a little bit.
You can't even talk.
What's up? Freddie Kraft, spotter for Bubba Wallace and Ty Dillon this week. TJ, we don't know where the TJ is. I mean, his opinions are always remote, but today he's actually physically remote, apparently, but still not here. So we'll start without him and see if he catches up.
Can we use a clip from the previous episode of I don't know. Yeah.
Hi, Casey.
Does he know that he clears his voice and throat that much?
He does. He is aware of it. He is very much aware of it.
Jason used to go through and delete all those out. Jay, I don't think, has the
Jay doesn't have the patience to do that.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It just depends on how many curse words we got, how many throat clearings we got. It's a week-to-week thing.
If I was you, I'd clear out all of the throat clearing and leave all of the curse words in.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Start with the throat clearing, and if you don't get to a couple curse words, nobody else going to mind.
Any good offers on the streets in St. Louis this year, Freddie?
Nope. Thankfully, I brought my beautiful wife Megan with me, so nobody, no.
So that's how you got to go on the bachelor party.
No. She wanted to go. Here's what happened here. Megan actually screwed this all up because she says, I think about Dover. She's like, I want to go to Dover because you get out, like the Dover Xfinity races early on Saturday. So you're out at 1. So you start at 1, you're done by 3, and you got all day Saturday to kind of hang out. But like that didn't work out because she thought about it too late. She's like, anywhere else you go that has a really early Xfinity race. And when I'm looking at the schedule, I go, oh, Gateway. Gateway's got a 12:30 local start. And then, that's a cool little downtown area. Me and Brett's been a bunch of sports bars down there and stuff. A couple cool restaurants, a couple streets, maybe questionable. You get propositioned a little bit. But so I said, yeah, sure. Why don't you come down here? So she plans the trip to Gateway. Then she's like, oh, God, that's the week after you go on that bachelor party. You're going to be dead. And then turns out we get a rain delay all day, and I don't get done racing until 6 o'clock anyway. So this whole weekend was basically Megan's fault, I think.
Oh, well, I'm so glad Megan didn't have to see what you witnessed last year. Although it
wasn't really seeing anything. It was
could have worked out in her
hearing
favor, too, at the same time.
I don't know about that.
All right, well, I was going to wait for TJ on this one, but, Freddie, you weren't here last week. Again, one of the hottest topics of the week for the past 2 weeks is the fact that Larson still has not received a waiver for last week's Coke 600. If you had the chance to make a decision, and thank God you don't, would you give it to him?
It's tough. Somebody clearly does not want to give it to him. I don't know who that is, but there's somebody somewhere that clearly does not want to see it.
I think it's a lot of people. I don't think it's just one person.
I think that I would probably give it to him just based on precedent set. I mean, you gave Chase Elliott one, and don't get upset with me, Chase Elliott Nation. This just happens to be the guy that this example fits. This guy got suspended last year and got a waiver after getting suspended. And you could talk about Larson chose to not go to Charlotte. Well, Chase Elliott chose to hook Denny Hamlin in the fence and got himself suspended for a race, and we gave him a waiver. So if that's the precedent we're going to follow, I don't understand how we haven't already just given this guy a waiver. If it was up to me, based on the brass tacks of it, I would say he doesn't deserve a waiver. But what you've done in the past is dictating what you do in the future. You got to give him one, I think.
I'm surprised you say that based on kind of where you're at in this playoff picture.
I don't want him to get one. By no means do I want him to get one because that eliminates a spot. Now we're 3 to the good, or 3. There's 2 drivers behind us. That would eliminate one if he gets it. But listen, this is the precedent you've set. The guy got suspended. He wasn't injured. He wasn't this, and you gave him a waiver. So now all of a sudden, because your feelings are hurt that he chose this race over your race, now you don't want to give him one.
You think their feelings are hurt?
I think somebody's feelings are hurt. What is the other example? I mean, what else? What could the explanation, I should say? I
was told there was a scheduled status update that was supposed to take place, and the only people that showed up for the status update was NASCAR. And if that's the case, I don't think that sat very well with the brass.
And the thing and that's very possible. But to me, and this was kind of running rampant in the garage at Charlotte, before the race started, everybody knew he wasn't coming. He announced, "I'm not coming. I'm going to come back once I'm done with the 500." everybody that you spoke to in the garage, where I was having a conversation with Jordan Bianchi and other guys that, people that would, respected opinions, they're like, well, they've had to have some kind of conversation, right? They know they're getting a waiver or else they would not do this, right? And it's like, oh, yeah, no, absolutely. Somebody has talked to somebody in NASCAR, which obviously they can't formally apply for one until the next week or whenever that process is.
I was also told there was no promise in place.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's hard to believe that, but it's obvious now that that's the case. I don't know, maybe they talked to somebody that didn't have as much pull as they thought they did.
I can tell you this thing, Casey's going to the top. This is going to be a Jim France, Lisa Kennedy, Ben Kennedy decision. This thing's way above anybody in that Cup garage that's in there on a weekly basis, and I'm surprised by it, but I think it goes back to what I said last week when Chris Rice was on here, and it was, did Kyle Larson and Rick Hendrick choose to skip the Coca-Cola 600? And the answer is yes. They choose to skip the start of it. So if he flew back in and he gets here and he gets in that car after that rain delay and he wins the race, wow. Now they got to be even more difficult decision.
So something else we talked about last week was how having Larson do or attempt to do the double benefited NASCAR as well.
Do you really believe that?
I truly do. I think the content that they put out, I think the coverage, I think everything that went behind it, NASCAR did a great job covering it and trying to support IndyCar, and I feel like IndyCar did the same, at least from a sponsor standpoint. If I was a sponsor supporting both, I would be thrilled. Freddie, do you think that benefited NASCAR as well? And in that case, should grant him the waiver because it helped them?
Yeah, but at the same time, if you're NASCAR, are you upset at the amount of attention it gave to IndyCar because
IndyCar benefited way more?
IndyCar, I think. I mean, obviously that's the most prestigious race in the world, I think. But I think you had a lot of extra eyes on it due to the fact that Kyle Larson was running it. And maybe that's where this comes in, that NASCAR is upset that, obviously in the greater picture of all of motorsports, yes, the double drew a lot of attention to both races. But I think it probably drew a little more attention to the 500, just from people that might be more of a NASCAR fan watching that because of Kyle Larson. And, you look at the ratings, for forever, our ratings are much higher than theirs. So they're trying to pull from our audience. We're not never trying to pull from theirs.
I think Kyle Larson is the most stated name in all of motorsports in America.
I tweeted that the other day from, I don't know, it was my account or Couch Racer, but it was, that was one of the cringiest interviews I've ever watched Bob Pockers have to do. And listen, everybody's like getting on Bob because he kept asking about it, but that's Bob's job. And Kyle just was kind of like, he can't really answer it. Like, what's he supposed to say until he knows, you're kind of in limbo. And it's just a cringy situation to put I said the sport's most popular driver. I meant motorsports, I think, across all fashions of racing. He, I think, is the most popular driver in the world right now. And it's just a bad spot to put him in. And the fact that we started yesterday's race without a decision is not, I want to say troublesome, but like you run races differently based on your points position. And if you don't know if this guy's in or out of the playoffs, that affects the way, people can call the race.
Could you see them saying that he has to become eligible again starting this week? Meaning he's basically got to win starting now.
I don't think so, only because if that was the case, and maybe, it's not out of the question by any means because they can do whatever they want, but I think they would have at least announced that before the race Sunday, not rob him of a race to gain his eligibility back.
Which they could backdate that.
But I'm just saying, if he goes in, maybe he races the race different Sunday if he knows he has to win again.
How long do you think this goes on?
Man, I would have told you on my flight to Tuesday last week. I was expecting to land and hear an announcement. So this has gone on already a week longer than I've expected.
Well, Jeff Gluck tweeted yesterday that NASCAR just put out the points report after this race, and Larson is listed second in points, but now shown with 0 playoff points. And last week, he had 17 points after the 600. So does that share anything?
No, I think this is all I think at the end of the day, he gets a waiver. I think them dragging this out is sending a message that they don't like it. Maybe this affects some other negotiations that are going on in the world of NASCAR these days.
You hope not.
You hope, yeah. And that to that point,
and what Freddie's alluding to is, does this give NASCAR leverage over Rick Hendrick and this charter negotiation? Does it?
Yeah, and if it does, if that's what is trying to go on, does or should Rick Hendrick care that Kyle Larson gets a waiver or not?
Rick Hendrick as an owner could care less because
That's
his
what I'm
owner's championship, which is going to pay the bank, is still there.
Yeah, like to me, if they're trying to leverage this in some way, which I don't know whether they are or not, but if they are, like if I'm Rick Hendrick, I'm just, what do I care? Go ahead, don't give him a waiver. He's still going to drive my car. Kyle made that clear in his interview the other day. Nothing's changed for me and my team. We're still going out trying to execute the best we can. So he's still going to drive my car. He's one of the best, or maybe the best driver on the racetrack. Just because you take his name off the drivers' championship, listen, the owner's points we talked about on here before a million times. The owner's points is what matters. That's what pays the charters. That's what pays that's what pays the money at the end of the year. So, is it really the end of the world for you if you're Rick Hendrick to give up anything in this negotiation?
I think the thing that fans are most upset about as it pertains to this whole discussion is this discourages a NASCAR driver running the double.
Yeah, you heard it yesterday. Like I think Brad was one of them that brought it up. Everybody NASCAR. When I got to North Wilkesboro for qualifying day, they were qualifying. We were running the All-Star or the Open, maybe practice. I can't remember what the hell we were running, but we were in the hauler. Bubba and Reddick are sitting in the hauler watching Kyle qualify. Multiple drivers sharing video of watching Kyle qualify. That's just qualifying. That's him making 4 laps out there by himself. And everybody, he jumps up to like P1 on the board of the 6 that have gone or something like that, and everybody's in the hauler high-fiving. It brought like a sense of camaraderie to our sport. Like we're all getting together now cheering for him, and now you kind of tarnish that by, all right, well now is anybody else going to want to do this? Going to risk the rain or risk, because God, I know everybody says it's easy to like, he should have just left and came back. Well, there's a lot of damn money spent on that Indy 500 car as well, and with expectations of him driving it, and I don't know what their rules are, even if somebody else can get in it after qualifying.
The only guy that was eligible to get in it was the rookie that DNQ'd for the Indy 500.
Yeah,
nobody else was eligible.
So like it's just I don't know. It's just a murky situation that just keeps getting murkier by the day. It seems like, and
at the end of the day, Kyle Larson has a boss, and that boss's name is NASCAR. And he didn't show up for work. And the boss is making a decision as to what the punishment is.
Yeah. Do you think he gets it or he doesn't think it?
I think he gets it. Better be glad I ain't in charge.
Yeah. I agree. I think he's going to get it.
Does this sour the relationship between NASCAR and IndyCar? Because I think like Danica and how celebrated she was when she came from IndyCar and came over to NASCAR, does this sour the relation between those two entities?
Newgarden already said he wants to do attempt.
But I'm just thinking if you're IndyCar, you look at NASCAR now and you go, well, screw you guys.
Yeah, why are you?
Well, IndyCar vertically is Roger Penske. He owns IndyCar. He owns the Indy 500. He owns the freaking car that won the Indy 500. Like, yeah, Jay, like I get what you're saying. At the end of the day, I think NASCAR is so much bigger than IndyCar that IndyCar drivers realize that we're the best racing in motorsports in America, and we're where a driver can come and make a lot of money. IndyCar can make a lot of money if you win the Indy 500. I mean, that's a $4 million payday this year. But outside of that, I mean, their ratings are not great. They're $300,000 a race. Their purses aren't great. They have 2 cars in their stable for the most part. Like, it's a much cheaper series to run than what NASCAR is. So I still think we're the pinnacle of motorsports in America, and we will continue to be. But 10 years from now, if the Indy 500 and IndyCar gets a ton of momentum because of this Kyle Larson thing, like, do you want to be NASCAR and allow them to benefit and grow their model based on your drivers?
I think it mutually benefits all motorsports, but that's just my opinion. Anyways, shifting gears to St. Louis. Freddie, I'm glad you made it without any incidences. But speaking of Roger Penske, he had a pretty solid weekend, at least for the winner, Austin Cindric. Congrats to that whole team. What'd y'all think of the race? And Freddie, I'll start with you because you clearly maybe didn't benefit as well.
Yeah. Yesterday was one of the worst races I've been a part of from my just spotting wise. The spotter stand there is quickly rising up my list of ones I can't stand.
So it's not any better than it was year one.
It's just top of the grandstands all the way down towards turn 4. So you have
is the tent still in the way?
Yeah, you got a tent in the way off of 4. Turn 1 tent or stage is much better now.
Good.
But you still can't see anything on entry to 1 because you're so close to the race. It's almost like Pocono.
Yeah.
It's so close to the racetrack. And I told Bubba going into it, I said, man, I really can't see much. And this is not new to us. We've been on the same spotter stand for 3 years. But yesterday, I just felt like I think a big part, and Britt, I think will back me up on this, a big part of our job is being able to anticipate what's going to happen kind of before it happens and not so much reacting to things that are happening. And what happens in turn 1 is, you lose kind of sight of your car. It's just you're looking at tail panels and I felt like yesterday all of them were black. And they drive down into 1 and they start splitting each other. And you can't see the runs coming because they're driving straight away from you. And you can't see who's got momentum, and you can't see who's kind of getting ready to peak out. So then you get into 1, and then some guy jams it 3 wide in the middle or splits you to the top, and you're like, oh, shit, he's outside. Now you're trying to talk fast to let him know what's going on. And, I sounded like an idiot yesterday, and I promise you, I was hungover from the bachelor party. I didn't have a sip of alcohol all weekend. And Bubba, I got on the plane yesterday. I was like, man, I'm sorry. I said, that was easily the worst job I've done spotting in, 10, 15 years. And he agreed with me, so that was good. And he's just like, man, it's not so much seeing. He's like, just like it's hard to understand you. And I was like, man, it's because Brett knows I talk really fast, and especially on the radio sometimes. And it was just, you're trying to react to stuff that's happening versus, all right, this guy's got to run. He's coming here, this, that, and the other. So it was not a fun day there. And then we couldn't get anything to go right for us yesterday. We were going to run long, then we kind of aborted that, and, of course, we pit, and then 10 laps later, yellow comes out, we get trapped a lap down. Then we get back, we're mired about 20th, 25th, have a really good restart, get up to about 15th, and Corey LaJoy about busts his ass right in front of us. We got to stop and watch 10 guys go back by us. So it's just,
I can't believe you didn't start with the incident where you door slammed Keselowski.
Oh,
that's
God.
where TJ.
I figured TJ was.
I was going to wait to bring that up.
I figured TJ is going to say it 800 times on here because God forbid anybody touches his car. I don't know. The track temp I think was 40 something degrees hotter on yesterday versus practice and qualifying, and when we fired off the race, we were loose. And I think it was lap 2. We got inside of Brad down the front stretch, and Bubba just went into 1, kind of like you saw Larson do with Busch later in the race. Just gets loose on entry and chases it up into him, and door slams him and knocks Brad up, I don't know, knocks him back 3 or 4 rows of cars. And TJ's, of course, over there bitching about, keep your car off. But so I figured we'll wait because he's going to mention it. We should start a count on the show. Somebody start it because he's going to say it no less than 5 times throughout the show somewhere. I was like, that time you ran into us and 1 and 2, and then he'll bring up 4 other incidents that happened in the past.
I want to talk about the truck race for a minute, man. I was looking at the results of this thing, and I was looking at this from a few different ways. Right, Carson Hocevar leaves the trucks, goes straight from trucks to Cup, which I said on here years ago. I thought that was more possible than ever because of the way the trucks race in this Cup car races. And I'm not trying to take credit for anything, but I'm just saying, like, we see a guy that was running well, winning races, go to Cup, have success. I'm looking through this list, man, and it's like, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful to any of these guys, but there's only about 5 guys that can actually wheel it in that series right now. Like, I am not impressed with this truck series lineup of drivers.
No.
No.
I mean, listen, Corey Heim is the class. Corey Heim and Christian Eckes are the class of the field right now. Majeski, very good race car driver. I would have to look at the list. But, I mean, there's obviously talent in there. But to your point, you're right. And this is – I feel like in motorsports, like everything is shifting closer to the Cup Series. Like back in the day, we had the ABC program as ARCA Busch Cup. Or even, you'd go to your local racetrack and they'd have a go-kart series that ran on Sunday or Monday, whatever day it was. And it was loaded with kids racing, and they were ages from 5 to 15 or 16, 17. Well, all them kids that were like 12 to 16, 17 now, well, they just race late models. They don't race go-karts no more.
Right.
So, like, those kids that were 20s, low 20s racing late models, now they're running trucks or ARCA. So I think everything got kind of escalated to where everybody's kind of getting above their skis, and to use a reference for your skiing days, but it's almost like some of them are kind of fish out of water. But to your point, like they got the money, they can go. There's nothing stopping them from doing that. And
when I get past 8th in that race, man,
where did Dean Thompson finish in that race? Just curious.
Dean Thompson finished 14th.
Oh, did he? Oh, he actually did. He didn't finish as good as he ran because we were giving our buddy Doug Campbell, congratulations to him, winning spotter yesterday. Doug goes to meetings all week, to break down stuff at Penske, and then he works with Dean during the week as well. And Dean was running up front for a majority of the race, top 5, I think. He qualified up front. He was running well. And I said to Doug, man, Doug, it's weird. You took a week off because he came to the trip with us, and I said, you took a week off to go to the Bahamas with us and skipped all these meetings, and all your guys seem to be running much better. Maybe leave your input out.
Stay out of the meetings.
But yeah, to your point, it's not, but there's talented race car drivers there. I mean, I know
there's a lot of talent. It's just we got to have bigger names in that series.
Yeah,
I don't know how you develop that.
How do you do that unless it's just like.
What about Grant Enfinger? I mean, he's struggled this year. He's only got 4 top 10s, and he's 10th in points. Like, are you surprised that he's not further up the leaderboard?
No, because he's trying to build a team. He went to a team that wasn't very competitive in the past, and he's brought a lot of good people over there, and that truck is running much better than it ever has. And there's been races where, I mean, there was a race about a month or two ago. He was leading. I thought he was going to win. I can't remember where it was, and I think he blew a right front tire. So, I think they're running better. But that's the guys that sport always that series always kind of relied on, the Grant Enfinger, the Matt Crafton.
Yeah.
Those are the guys that made that truck series what it was.
Ben Rhodes.
So, it is what it is, but Corey is clearly the class of the field, I think, right now, and I mean he's hard to beat unless they kind of beat themselves.
He's rumored to be the 3rd guy in line for the 2311 car. I'd be surprised if that happens, but he's rumored to be one of the guys they go after.
I don't know anything about anything that happens over there.
I was going to say, is that become a funding thing or a talent thing?
Both.
But if you say there's no talent in the truck series right now except for a few guys.
I mean, if you're 2311, you're looking at this thing as, the model changed when you have to go out and buy a charter, because obviously you want to fund your car, but now you also have to fund buying a $30 million charter. So if you spread that out over the course of, say, multiple years, say it's 5 years, well, you now need $6 more million a year to come in to fund the purchase of the charter. And obviously the value of that charter you assume is going to go up, which can offset some of the spending, but nonetheless, $30 million is a lot of money. Probably not to Michael Jordan, but to Denny Hamlin, $30 million is a lot of money. So I'd be curious to see what happens there. There's a lot of names in the rumor mill as to who's on their list. I'll be curious to see who they go after. I do think they get whoever they want because they're 2311. They got a ton of speed. They're in a really good spot, really good ownership group, and that's a big deal.
Well, that should definitely be interesting.
Dib finally showed up.
I think.
I saw Dale taking a picture in the background. You're not wearing pants or something? Well, I'm glad you finally made it, stupid. How was your flight this morning?
You got a flight?
Yeah, the flight was great. That was the best part of my morning so far was the flight. So before that, getting up and, I got home last night and I did my laundry, packed my bag, put my suitcase in my car. While I go to leave for the airport, 6:45 this morning, and my car is locked shut and completely dead, like won't open, nothing, can't even get it open. So
your Tesla?
Oh yeah, it did not. I couldn't get the charging cable out of it. I couldn't get the door open, the trunk open. Called Tesla support. They couldn't get any signal from it, and so had to get it's been bad. I've had to.
That sounds expensive.
Yeah, especially I don't know. It's ongoing still right now, but I'm sure it's going to be super cheap.
all that gas money you saved over the years is probably getting ready to go out the window.
Just ruined all that gas money. So I'm not really happy with Tesla too much right now. But it's been a rough morning. So, but the flight was great. Friend of ours, Dale Jr.'s old spotter from many years ago, his old spotter from last year, Joey Meyer, has a small plane. And
what's it got, a Cessna 182 or something?
No, it's like a Piper Aviator or something like that.
Nice.
It's really cool to fly in those. I really enjoy flying in those small planes.
So does Brett.
Joey is a great pilot, and like you sit there and talk to him the whole time, he'll tell you what everything does, and he's a lot of fun to fly with.
I don't think I ever want to know what's going on in the cockpit. ever. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we talk about this a lot when somebody says, like, what makes a good spotter. And Brett will always use the example. He goes, you don't need a great spotter. He's like, Brett, spotters are like pilots. He says, you don't really need a great pilot until some shit goes wrong. He says, and then you need a great pilot. Joey is a great pilot. But
he's good at pushing buttons in that thing. Whatever them buttons he pushes, he knows what to push and when to push it. And this plane, he's still working on getting things upgraded in it because it was built in the 60s.
Awesome. I
yeah.
can't wait to file that.
60s.
It was built in the 60s.
That's a long time ago.
I'm telling you. So I asked where the cup holder was, and then this thing folds out, and he's like, yeah, that used to be the ashtray. And I'm like, okay. It literally looks like Austin Powers' living room, the inside of the thing. But it's super cool. It's nice, and it's a lot of fun. It doesn't have autopilot or auto, where they can just push the buttons and it kind of navigates itself. So he's literally flying the whole time. I thought about.
So did you have to go through clouds in this thing?
Oh, and we took off this morning. We definitely went there was a few minutes there where you couldn't see a thing, and I'm sitting there like, oh man, I'm on FlightAware looking for other planes in the area real quick to make sure. So
I know,
it was
that's
fun.
What I mean. That's what I mean about, like, I know driving, like, somebody will text me or something, I'll like look down at my phone and I swerve over into the other lane for a second, and it's like, does that happen up there? Like, how close are we to doing something real stupid?
So it looked like, it reminded me of driving in like really, really thick fog, or Brett probably doesn't know, but Freddie probably does, like driving in a snowstorm when it just you get like blowing snow and you get them whiteout conditions. That's exactly what it looks like. And he's just over there flipping buttons, and it's kind of dark when you go through the clouds, but as soon as you get on top of them, it's like, oh, I need my sunglasses now. So it got clearer as we got further down, further along there and stuff. But yeah, Joey's a lot of fun to fly with, and I'm sure he would have let me fly if I would have asked.
No, that's all.
Are you in my favorite state, or are you in Florida? Which one did you go to?
I'm in your favorite state, Watermelon Capital. Oh, that's Pageland.
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
Pageland. That's not my favorite place. That's
all right, well, we're not glad you made it, but we were talking about Cindric, and I was just getting ready to say, like, Cindric was, this was no fluke. He was fast all weekend. And Brett, I know you weren't there, but practice, qualified second, ran up front all race long, it seemed like. And then obviously Blaney runs out of gas. But I mean, this was not some win he backed into.
No, he was fast. Penske cars, that's probably their best track as far as speed wise as a whole. I think so. They've been fast there last 2, maybe all 3 years. I don't remember 22 or 22. Joey won it. Yeah, and Kyle won it last year. So yeah, they've been fast all 3 years there now. Yeah, Cindric, that's no fluke, man. He ran strong all day, and even if without anything, he was going to finish top 3 no matter what.
Yeah, I thought he was the third best car all day. I thought Bell was the best. He blew up, and then him and Blaney there at the end.
Yeah, in a long run, he might have been about a 4th or 5th place car, but man, they have short run speed, and he drove a clean race, and that's what you have to do. I mean, you got to drive a clean race to get to the end, and Austin, Austin puts a lot of work in. I've said this back before when I first met Austin and did a couple races for him in the Xfinity Series. Austin puts a lot of work in, and I think from his first Xfinity races to what he became as an Xfinity driver, he was probably the most improved driver there from year 1 to year 2, and then he's almost a 2-time champion minus 1 corner. He should be a 2-time champion, but Austin works really hard, and he deserves a lot of credit for getting this win and putting together a race. So congrats to those guys. There's a lot of really good guys on that 2 team as well. So happy to see them guys find victory lane.
I remember him showing up and winning an ARCA race at a road course somewhere, and I knew obviously it was Tim Cindric's son, but I never really followed his racing career. And then I think the first oval race he went to was a Dover truck race, if I remember correctly. And he was awful. Like, when I say awful, I'm talking like seconds off the pace to start. He got better as we practiced. But I was like, oh, this kid is just a road racer, and he's never going to be any more than that. To see that and then where he's come from since then is impressive. And listen, Ford, we hammered Ford for a little while on here about they had won races. We're talking
you.
here, stupid. You're in another state. But They obviously got speed at Darlington when TJ won, and there was a lot of rumors in the garage that they have Doug Yates to thank for this newfound speed. I don't know if they got an engine update or what the deal was there, but they were not lacking in the horsepower department yesterday. I can promise you that much.
It was cool to see Austin start the race sideways, as were a lot of guys, because you're like, man, this guy's in trouble. And obviously that went away, and he had speed. But Christopher Bell was lights out, the fastest car all day.
Yeah, I thought so.
I mean, there wasn't nobody going to beat him if he didn't have a problem. Then obviously Blaney's got the thing in the bag. I mean, God forbid we put a full tank of gas in the car. And then, I mean, so you guys say he didn't back into the win. I actually think he did, but he was super fast. He was in contention, obviously, by being in the top 5. But if those two guys don't have problems, I don't see him winning that race.
I agree with that.
Yeah, there is a fuel thing, though, there. Sorry to interrupt you. There was a fuel thing, though, too. Like, if you ran long, you had to take a certain amount of fuel, and if you were going to run long, and and we were in kind of that window too of are we going to be able to take enough fuel right here? So there definitely was a little bit of strategy there, and they wanted us go out to the lead, and I don't know.
Kill a spot on, spot off topic.
Sorry, I haven't even seen it, dude. I haven't even got to the show sheet. Where's my show sheet, man? I don't see one.
We're talking
here.
about Ryan Blaney, though, and I was listening to the teardown this morning on my way here, and they're talk about, hey, man, Ryan Blaney, championship contender. And I'm like, how do you say that when he has 0 wins and he doesn't have a bunch of playoff points? I mean, we know that to get in the top 8, to feel secure about getting in the top 8, you have to have that cushion of playoff points. You can't afford to go into a playoff format where there's 16 guys in it and you don't have a bunch of playoff points in the bank, because one bad race in that first or second round and you're toast.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's 12th in points. He's right in front of us, I believe, maybe 30 or 40 points ahead of us.
So that's not going to get him a playoff point either.
No, I mean, obviously you have to, I think, factor him into the playoff conversation, the championship conversation, because he is the defending champion, and he can get hot in those last stretch of races like he did last year. Because I think if the playoffs started yesterday, other than Dale Jr., you're not going to find anybody that was going to pick Ryan Blaney to be the champion, and he did. So, he has to be in the conversation, but by no means, I don't think right now, except for maybe Dale Jr., anybody would put him in their Final 4.
There's too many guys with too many playoff points. I mean, you got guys with 15, 16, 17 playoff points. Kyle Larson, I don't know how many he's got.
He's got none right now.
He had a lot.
He had 17 before last week.
Oh, boy.
How about, shifting gears to Portland? I don't know if this is the DBC effect, but we did have Chris Rice on the show last week, and SVG scored that win.
What a race.
Oh, it was awesome.
I know. I missed it because I got one restart. I got back to the hotel for one restart.
It was a hell of a race.
I missed it.
I mean, you say this as a competitor. Turn 1 and 2 on restarts is stupid. Like, it is flat out stupid as Indy was when we ran the road course there. Like, it is not. It's not realistic.
There's no talent. Like, it's just go in there and wipe somebody out.
It's a shit show. SVG went in there first lap of the race and wiped out Sam Mayer. See you later. But SVG wins this race with literally both fronts, left front, right front, not completely in. And we know how important aero is, whether you want to hear it or not. Even on road courses, it's super important. This guy's car, it looks like he ran Bristol in the 90s. It is absolutely killed. It was an incredible race. By far my favorite NASCAR race of the weekend that I watched. And I love that we're in that market. However, Victory Lane, it needs a lot of work.
I saw a video of.
Dude, that's got to be the worst Victory Lane in America. Like, spend some money. You got a freaking national television broadcast out there covering your state, your city, your racetrack. Give us something to be proud of. But anyway, cool win for SVG. Obviously, see Rice. And Chris said on the show last week, they felt probably more pressure to go out there and win that race than they've ever felt. Clearly, you have two of the best road course racers in the country in your stable. AJ was never really a factor. He also had to start in the back. He had some issues in practice where he got in a wreck because somebody had fluid on the track. But you could tell in Chris's eyes, like, he knew they had to win.
Yeah, and I don't know. I kind of saw, I was kind of trying to peek at some tweets or something during the truck race to see updates, and you were texting some, obviously, but it sounded to me, and I don't want to pick on this guy because I love this guy to death. I think he's one of the greatest guys in the garage. Allgaier dominates another race and doesn't get a win. Was he the best car?
I think SVG was the best car and driver. Justin was in the best position. Obviously, but SVG surrendered stage one. He was going to win stage one.
Yeah,
he had a 4-second lead, and he decided to pit with 2 to go, come in, and then obviously flip the field. He was the only car to do that. So that allowed Justin to win the first stage. Second stage, Justin was there. Listen, you're watching this thing play out, and it's Justin Allgaier on the point, and then the next 3 cars are JGR cars. And you're like, well, how the hell is he going to defend all 3 of these guys? Because they're going to go in here and KO this thing. Chandler Smith ends up screwing up. Chandler Smith screws up coming to the green, and he runs over the car in front of him, knocks the nose off his car. And a lot of things allowed SVG to get back up there. But, yeah, Justin certainly –
Creed got a penalty? Was that? I didn't see that restart. I know he got changing lanes.
Yeah, he did get a penalty.
Changing lanes too soon.
Yeah.
I seen a tweet from Couchrace like, is the 7 going to win or all the JGR cars? And then when I turned it on, there was no JGR cars. I go, what? Maybe he meant JRM. Like, I don't know.
It was a phenomenal race though. I do believe. You hate to see Xfinity have to go that far from home because it's very expensive. The thing that was very strategically cool about it was you had to be on pit road a minimum of 63 seconds. So you didn't have the super fast elite pit crew guys out there changing tires, but it was very obvious that some teams were able to, hit that 63-second window better than others. Because some guys were losing more spots than not, when in reality – you weren't losing it changing tires.
So it was almost like bracket racing. Like it was 63 seconds on pit road, I assume,
yes.
Like line to line.
Line to line.
So you were trying to hit the end of pit wall at 63 seconds. Yeah. So that's because I did see a lot. I was wondering, when I got back, they were interviewing guys, on TV before the restart, and Tyler Allen, I think he's crew chief for. I don't know. I think he's on the 20 car, which I don't even know who. Maybe Truex was driving it. But he had like a head sock.
Truex was driving
He had a head sock on it. He's a crew chief. And I'm like, the hell is he wearing a head sock for? And then I realized like Chris Bowen was another one I seen. Crew chief was going over the wall. I go, oh, that's right. They got that deal where they don't got to be really fast.
You had the guy jumping on Jesse Love's car, dry humping the hood.
God.
I was going to say that. Jesse
You
Love
just had
got a
to
hood
make it
ornament.
inappropriate. Had to. I thought
That's what he did. I mean, when the best part about it is you don't see him coming. Like
No.
Jesse's pulling into his box, and all of a sudden this guy just swan dives off the wall.
I'm not sure I want to see that, Freddie.
Well,
I thought it was awesome. My second favorite race of the weekend was a car store race that Connor Hall won.
God almighty.
That 3-wide finish for the end. Holy cow.
I wore my car store
And the coolest thing about that race at the end of it, if you hadn't seen it, definitely go look on Twitter, is they didn't wreck each other.
No, that's the thing I tweeted. I said, it is congrats to Connor Hall for winning the race, but also congrats to Carson Kvapil, and who was on the bottom? Brent Cruz, because Brent Cruz very easily could have went in there and just decided that he was going to win and knock those two up into each other, and he kind of held it down enough to where they all had an opportunity to cross the line together. And that the reason why we got that finish is because them guys in the middle and the bottom had enough respect for Connor to race clean to the win.
I had breakfast
That's
with
cool,
Connor.
Freddie. Those guys know how to hold their lines.
Yeah.
Oh, Freddie doesn't know how to? Is that what you're saying?
That's one.
that's not mine.
What happened, TJ? We missed
would
something?
you like to share with the class?
Oh,
You're
you
red.
mean
You might as well tell us.
just like lap 2? Geez.
I thought it was lap 1.
Jeez, I think it was two.
Yeah, I think it was lap 2.
Yeah.
So thought we were
be on the
both gonna
outs-
have flat tires.
Don't be on the track just when the train's coming.
Brad made a great save. Got to give him credit for his talent level.
I thought we were gonna have a flat tire, which I really didn't want to have
I thought
happen.
you were wrecking.
I thought we were wrecking.
yeah.
I wasn't worried about a flat. I thought we were both wrecked.
So TJ, did you say something after Freddie or after that happened to Freddie?
What did I say? I said, "Dang, Freddie." I didn't really say anything. Just
You
kind
said
of.
hold your.
Hold your line.
Hold your line or something.
And what Freddie says, I forget what Freddie said.
I
back.
said. I think we're just magnets. We can't get away from each other.
I agree.
Y'all love each other. All right, Casey, we've been rambling forever.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll head into Spot On, Spot Off. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, is an authorized gaming operator of NASCAR. And right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any $5 bet.
That's $200 to use on race winners, prop bets, champion futures, and so much more. All on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use.
Be sure to check out Dirty Modo as they preview upcoming bets and handicap the field for the upcoming race. Visit FanDuel.com/DBC to get started and take a shot at an extra $200. FanDuel, make every moment more.
21 and up and present in NC. First online real money wager, only $10 deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at fanduel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanthegame.nc.gov. First topic on his Happy Hour podcast, Kevin Harvick said this after the news broke about SHR's closure at the end of the season. It's unbelievable to me that we went from forever to forward to for sale in 6 months. Bold comment. Brett.
I was surprised that Kevin was surprised.
I mean, do you think he was really surprised?
He gets on this podcast and he says how surprised he is to see this happen. I got a couple perspectives on this, having obviously worked at Stewart-Haas, having a lot of friends that are there. Our buddy Justice, who's the IT guy over there, was one of the first people that I sent a text to when the news came out. But they knew that morning that they were going to be told that charters were being sold. A lot of them did not know they were going to be told that all the charters were being sold. I think they were under the impression that, okay, they're selling 2, we're keeping 2, we're going to keep going. So I think there was some surprise there for the employees, which, I mean, ultimately that sucks. But for Kevin Harvick to say he was surprised, I'm not surprised. And the reason I'm not surprised is Gene Haas came into this sport, if I remember it correctly, he had guys like Scott Riggs, he had Jeff Green, he had Tony Raines. He had no OEM support. And he didn't get OEM support until he signed with Tony Stewart to partner and become Stewart-Haas Racing. And at that point, Tony had left Chevrolet with Joe Gibbs Racing and had gone to Toyota. And Tony, I don't want to speak for Tony, but as I remember this correctly, Tony didn't want to be with Toyota. Tony wanted to be with Chevrolet. So Tony cut a deal to leave Gibbs, go back to the Chevrolet brand with Stewart-Haas and Gene Haas. Gene Haas was in prison while this happened. So this partnership forms, and now Gene Haas gets 2 things. He gets OEM support, and he gets Tony Stewart, which is a hell of a talent. From there, obviously they grew, and they won championships. But when they switched over to the Ford brand, they got a big money deal. I mean, we remember hearing, and I don't know how many years this term was, but we remember hearing it's a $60 million deal. And it's like, holy cow, this is obviously Ford wants Stewart-Haas Racing badly. Well, obviously, Ford elected not to continue their OEM relationship with Gene Haas, Tony Stewart, Stewart-Haas Racing. That's when the end started coming.
Yeah, and we heard that last year. I mean, that was in the rumblings last year, and it's just unfortunate, like you said, all these guys, and there was 2 of them, a driver and a spotter from Stewart-Haas Racing were on the trip with us, and we were giving them grief on Tuesday because they technically got fired on their day off. But to that point, you know, it's a shame. There's so many good guys over there, and talented guys. That, I mean, like you said, championship winning team members that, you know, got caught blindsided. That was the biggest thing I took away from it. Is, you know, like, how do you not like let these guys know or give them some kind of, you know, foreshadow to this is coming, you know, or it's even potentially coming? Because all we heard out of there from anybody was that, you know, we're not being told anything. All the drivers are basically in the media saying we don't know nothing. We haven't been told anything. And Kevin, I don't know where, and I don't want to speak for Kevin, but it seems to me like somehow, and this could just be him taking. Kevin's very dry humor. He takes shots all the time. You know, he like pokes the bear a little bit. And him and Tony were really good friends, from what I recall, with Tony being at the racetrack. And now this is the second time in a couple of weeks he took a shot at the ownership of Stewart-Haas. You know, remember when at Wilkesboro he drove the 5 car and he said it was nice to see the owner twice this week, or hear from the owner more than once this week, or hear from him, period. And now he's taking these shots here, so it seems like that's a little bit soured somewhere. But yeah, it's just an unfortunate deal for a lot of people and a lot of good people in our sport.
TJ.
Yeah, same way. I mean, that place went from mainly championship contenders, you know, to just being gone. So I hate to see it. There's a lot of good people over there, and I think it's going to get tougher as the year goes on, I think, too, because they're probably going to lose some people. And
it's definitely not going to get easier.
Yeah,
So
it's definitely not going to get easier. But
let me ask you this, TJ, and Brett, you too. You know, there's let's just use a spotter for example, because there's spotter. We're all spotters. If you're the spotter for a Stewart-Haas car, and listen, Spire just made a change a couple weeks ago, and now they've got a part-time guy doing it.
Who also still races.
So he might not be able to. Stephen Parsons is who's spotting for Corey LaJoie right now, and I don't know if that's a long-term plan for them or he was a second spotter for them. They just felt like he did a good job, and they have filled that hole. But if you're in position to leave Stewart-Haas Racing, right, you're under contract for the year. These guys have all signed a contract for the year. Would you guys leave?
I would ask to be released 100%, knowing that my future here is out.
Done.
I hate being right about this, but I said at the beginning of the year, every driver at Stewart-Haas Racing is on the hot seat. And I didn't think it would be because they were shutting the doors at that point, right? So the spotters, everybody. Rodney, here's what we know. Gene Haas has a bunch of money. And I think they'll do this the right way to finish the year financially. I don't think they'll, not pay people or try to cut corners. I think they're going to try to go out on a high note. But at the end of the day, man, as a spotter, if you've got an opportunity to leave, I 100% would walk into Greg Zipadelli's office and say, please release me from my contract. And then if Zipadelli didn't let me go, there's ways to get fired. You don't show up, you're going to get fired.
To me, it depends on – looking at the scenarios they have there, it depends on what the relationship you have with the driver. If you're with, if I'm with a driver that I've been with for a few years and we have a really good relationship and he's got, I think these drivers, I'm going to
put you on the spot right here then with what you're saying because I feel what you're saying. You're with Ryan Preece right now. What are you going to do?
If I'm with Ryan Preece, I know Ryan, but if I haven't been with him for a long time and I'm not on that, if you're not on that where you talk to the guy everyday basis, like I've been really lucky in my spotting career that the drivers that I've worked with, we talked every single day pretty much. And, two of the guys that I've worked with have been two of my best friends since I've been involved in racing. So I'm going to go where they go. So I'm not going to bail. But I can see some of them guys, if you get an offer that is going to be long term, you got to do what's right for you, and the doors are going to close as we get later into the season. Doors will open and close as we go here, but if you don't take the opportunity when it presents itself, it might not be there in 6 months. This is really early in the season. We're only, how many races in are we? 12, 13 races? 13, 14?
Yeah, I don't even know. It's 14 or 15.
It's got to be 15 if we're going to 11 to go in the playoff.
So we're a third of the way through the season. This is really early to be, making big changes. And the silly season started. I feel like this season's backwards. I feel like it's not until the playoffs start when silly season starts, and it's full bore right now. So, but back to it. Depends on the relationship that I have with the driver. If I'm with a Chase Briscoe and he's telling me, hey man, I've got some really good things in the works, I really like you to stay with me, I'm gonna, you're gonna be the guy, if it's gonna work out or not. But if that's not the case and you don't have that comfort level, then I feel like you have to do what's right for yourself.
Is it hard to jump ship at the same time of, if that's the deal, if there's a Corey LaJoie deal out there, the 7 car is Corey LaJoie, you're going to jump ship from where you're at now to go to the 7, where Corey's future might be a little muddy. If Corey says, this is the guy I want, and they go get you, whoever you want to pick, the Stewart-Haas spotters, and which I think Corey's fine for another year. But, are you jumping on another possible sinking ship? It's such a muddy deal for, this is kind of the behind the scenes of what goes on up on the roof with us.
Well, here's the best news for all 4 spotters and all 4 crew chiefs and all 4 team members that travel on these road crews is these teams, it's not like when Tyler Jett went out of business or when, whoever, Bill Davis went out of business. Those cars and those entries went away. Now these entries are guaranteed to go somewhere. Yeah. So it's not like it used to be. This is where the charter system is very beneficial to us as people in the sport, because NASCAR, as of right now, doesn't have their hand in that particular part of it. And these charters, assuming they get an agreement done, I saw what Denny said this weekend. I saw what Brad said this weekend. Denny said there's a ton of work to be done, and Brad said he feels like we're close. That's not the same thing. But I think for these people, they're guaranteed another entry somewhere in the sport. Not necessarily guaranteed a job, but certainly that opportunity exists. 2311, adding a spotter. Trackhouse, adding a spotter. What's the other one? Front Row, adding a spotter. Then there's still a fourth team out there that's going to end up with a charter.
Are they all pretty much set to receive those charters, or
Front Row's already said they have one.
Besides,
Bob Jenkins was seen in the Stewart-Haas racing shop. He interviewed a lot of the guys because he wants to retain some of the talented people that are there. Obviously, there's a rumor he's getting that shop. There's also rumors that some of those sponsors may even be tied to what he's got going on. So big opportunity for them. But that's the top three, and that's been the case for months. We've been hearing that for months.
I don't think you need to jump on this if you're a Stewart-Haas spotter. If they want you to go there, and they know how the loyalty thing works. If you sign up, to me, if you commit to somebody, I think
the challenge, TJ, is you're looking at 4 drivers who have 1 win combined. Chase Briscoe has a Cup Series win. Josh Berry does not. Ryan Preece does not. Who's the other one? Noah Gragson does not. Noah's had the most speed. I would say he and Drew Blickensderfer probably look like a really good package deal to an ownership group right now. Rodney Childers, how married is he to Josh Berry? Josh Berry doesn't have funding like a lot of these guys have. Noah Gragson has freaking Bass Pro with him. Obviously, Chase Briscoe has Ford behind him. Ryan Preece, to me, he's in trouble. And I think Ryan's a talented race car driver. I think he's in a bad situation, and it just got worse. So if you're married to Chase, that's why I ask you the question about Preece. If you're married to Ryan Preece, how long is your honeymoon going to last right here?
Yeah, I don't like if you gotta, it'd be hard to jump for not a stable deal for sure. But if there was a top 15 guy that wanted you and you gave him the commitment that you would go with him, then I still think you don't leave in the middle of the season. You finish where you're at, and then you go after that.
If a Riley Herbst or a
Cole Custer,
Chandler Smith, or a Corey Heim, let's say that's the top 3 candidates for this 2311 car. If one of those guys gets that ride, that puts the whole theory that you're talking about, that puts that one guy out. So you got to make sure you're not married to a guy that's out. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
What about, you mentioned Riley, Cole Custer, Xfinity Series.
You mentioned Cole Custer.
Well, I mentioned Cole Custer for obvious reasons, but, what does that look like now?
The Xfinity team?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've heard rumors that there's still gonna be some kind of Xfinity presence at Stewart-Haas Racing, but that's strictly rumors. I don't know where they're at right now, and I think it depends on, do they have funding? I'm sure Riley brings a big chunk of that funding. If he goes Cup racing somewhere, what does that do for their funding? If it's just sitting there with Cole Custer, I don't think
Cole has some funding.
Cole has some for sure, but not what.
The question is, will Cole keep funding from Gene? Because let's state the obvious. Gene Haas is obviously very tied to Cole Custer's dad, Joe Custer. They have had a business. So Zipadelli and Frood run the Stewart version of Stewart-Haas. Custer and I can't remember the other guy's name off the top of my head. There's 2 guys with Gene that kind of run the Gene side of the business. Carl is his name. All 4 are awesome guys, right? But that you had the Tony interest and you had the Gene interest, and they were separate from one another. Obviously, Brett Frood was the acting president for a long time. He since took on a job with soccer here in Charlotte, but he's still very involved. So, Casey, the question becomes is, when Gene walks away from NASCAR, is he walking away as a Cup owner, or is he going to still be involved in Cole's career? Because if he is, that's a big win for Cole. If he's not, there's another big question mark you got to answer.
Should be interesting. Next topic. Ryan Blaney was never told he was close on fuel before running out just before taking the white flag, and he finished 24th. Spot on, spot off. TJ.
I've got to be spot off, because I feel like if you're close near the end there, he had a big enough lead where he might have been able to manage it a little bit. After Bell had his problem, Ryan might have been able to manage a little bit of fuel saving to get to the finish. And as accurate as things are now with fuel mileage, I feel like them guys. I mean, maybe did they know that he was getting close?
So going back, and I think our fuel run was about 75 laps yesterday. I don't know where you guys were at on the Ford side. He pit with, I think it was 64. Yeah, 64 laps to go was his last run. And Larry Mack, I was listening to Terry on the way in here. They said Larry Mack went down and looked at his last pit stop, and he seemed like one of the only people to put one can in. And just because guys put a second can in doesn't mean they put a whole second can in. They might have just needed a can and a splash or something like that, obviously. But yeah, I mean, this is a big spot off for me because he had a big enough lead. He ran out taking the white. He didn't have a lot to save. But to your point, did they just, because teams know what happens is you pit for fuel. You know what's gone into the car because you're weighing the can. You weigh the can before and after, so you know if that can's empty, all that fuel got in there, and if not, now
as long as there's no spillage.
Yeah, did they guess wrong? Did they have their the mileage calculated wrong? I mean, like I said, only missed by a lap, so it's a small calculated. I mean, a big miss
by a mile.
Missed by a mile. But it's hard to believe that they just let him run out. You know what I mean? Like, don't even tell it. Like, so a lot of times we've all been in this situation. I think we were at Daytona this year. Like, as soon as we left pit road, Booty's like, Freddie, we didn't get enough in it. We're trying to leave with the group, and we didn't get enough in it.
So had he flipped his switch?
Well, there is no switch really anymore.
There's no bladder anymore?
there's a switch, but it's not what it used to be. It's not a lap. It's much less than that. For our cars anyway. I assume everybody's similar now. But maybe a bad assumption. But yeah, it's and to TJ's point, they were behind the two. They were on the green flag cycle. They came in running behind the two, and jumped him by quite a bit. They pit a lap or two before him also, so that helped with that. But they did jump the two, so they definitely were there for a shorter amount of time. It's just, and I have to go back and look at it, but yeah, I mean, it's hard to believe that they knew they were a little bit short and just
we had discussions, Brett.
Yeah,
we were discussing because we knew that if we pitted a certain time that we were going to have to take more fuel than what the tire change was going to take, and we were kind of trying to play the strategy with that too, to where we're trying to eliminate that. So I know there was that was part of the play is, fuel, how much you put in there was going to come down to it. So obviously they didn't get enough in it.
So Ryan's last pit stop was 9.09 seconds, and the two's last pit stop was 10.69. So they were there for a second longer, or a second and a half longer than Ryan was, and I don't know if that might be the difference.
I'm spot off for Blaney. Just, man, holy cow! Like this completely could change everything. You've only got 11 races left now to essentially win and guarantee that you're in the playoff. You've only got 11 races now to go out and accrue playoff points. Man, it just, as a defending champ, as a guy who's very popular amongst our fan base, it sucks. And obviously Tim Feeta was over there now spotting for him. He left the 4-car last year with Kevin Harvick and went over to Stewart-Haas, or went over to Penske. So, man, I hate it for those guys because after Bell had his problem, which, oh, by the way, it was cool to see Martin literally pushing Bell down the straightaways and whatnot. Listen, this was stage one was a boring stage. And I kind of gave up on the race after that, and I started doing some stuff with Bodie. We went on a scooter ride. I was listening to it on the radio, and then I came back, and I was in and out of the kitchen. The end of the race was a 10 out of 10. Up until then, this was certainly not one of my most favorite races.
I actually thought it was a pretty good race because there was different strategies, and those guys were trying to hold on. There was guys with 2 tires, 4 tires, and there was multiple grooves. And
I
pray that if there are any tires left from yesterday, that they set them on
fire.
They
did. Those tires could definitely last a long time.
Have a bonfire and let's
probably
all
longer
drink
than my
beer
Tesla.
And drink Fireball and let's blow those tires up, please.
Another on-track incident. After contact with Kyle Busch that resulted in both cars spinning, Kyle Larson said he turned down into me. Busch finished 35th, while Larson still managed 10th.
What did Kyle say?
Which Kyle?
That he turned down Kyle Larson?
No, I'm sorry. That's confusing. What did Kyle Busch say when he was interviewed outside of the Care Center? Because I saw him being interviewed, but I didn't hear it.
I think that's what he said. He talked about. I don't know what. Yeah, Kyle Larson said he turned down to me, right? This is confusing as.
We're talking about two Kyles.
Yeah, I don't know what Kyle Busch said. I don't like.
Well, one Kyle up. I don't know which one it was.
Oh, I can tell you which one it was.
Which one was it?
The one that's on the. Well, one of them's not in the playoffs right now, but the one that's on the cut line is the one that up because, listen, they're racing their asses off here, but you got to know, you can't, as tight as the points are. If you're Kyle Busch, you can't have a DNF. And it looked to me like they had a little bit of a pissing match in 3 and 4. And then they got down the front straightaway and kind of turned, did the old bounce off of each other. And then Kyle Busch held him really tight into 1. Larson gets loose, chases it up into him, and wrecks the 2 of them. Which, by the way, I don't even know where Larson finished, but
10th.
10th. So a couple years ago, 3 years ago, that he's destroyed in the garage with him. This car is indestructible, except for if you get pinned against the wall by somebody else, apparently. But yeah, to me, the guy that screws up in this situation is Kyle Busch,
and he's now 20 points
because he was in the playoffs, P14 in the standings, and now he's 20 points out behind 4 guys, or 3 guys, whatever it is, to get back in. So it's a mistake. A guy, an experienced, Kyle Busch is easily in the top 5 of most talented race car drivers on the racetrack week in and week out. And for him to make this mistake in this situation it's a very surprising.
So who turned into who?
So Busch squeezed him into 1.
They hit on the straightaway.
I think that was Kyle Busch running into Larson because he was pissed about what happened in 3 and 4, and then he held him tight into 1 as well.
The internet said it was Larson, yes.
I felt like Larson off of 4 drove into Kyle's left rear barely, and then I felt like they got in a pissing match down the front. Larson got loose, took them both out. Obviously, the 8 car took the bad end of the deal, but I wasn't aware of how tight it was at where Kyle Busch is at in the standings, and yeah, they can't afford to make that mistake.
So I'm looking at it right now on the phone here, and was it that lap that they had the little match, or was it the lap before?
Yeah. It was off of in the middle of 3 and 4. Then they kind of raced each other hard down the front, and then they held them tight.
Yeah, I didn't really see anything in 3 and 4. They just come. They come. If anything, the 5 just comes up to them on exit. And the 5 might. Okay, so the 5 definitely probably goes up and clips him a little bit on exit in the left rear quarter panel. Yeah, it looks like he was trying to side draft, but moved just a little bit too close.
He hit him, and when he hit him, then Kyle did come down. Kyle Busch, let me reference that.
He wasn't happy.
I felt like then he did come down because he's mad, and then they wrecked.
So this is not the first time.
This is confusing as
I agree. You're telling me this is not the first time that Kyle Busch has taken his frustrations out to some extent on track, obviously. Brett, you're saying, at this point he needs to just run his race and to be able to make the playoffs?
I think Freddie's stance on it's spot on for sure. He's got to – listen, he's got some good racetracks coming up. He finished top 5, I believe, last year at Sonoma. If not, it was the year before. He's got good racetracks coming up. He's going to have to go out there. And it's so hard, Casey, because I've been on these teams. Where you're points racing, and it sucks because you get to Sonoma and you're like, do we try to win the race or do we points race? And when you look at guys like an A.J. Allmendinger that's going to be in this field, he ain't going to care about points. He's going to be able to call his race to win the race. When you look at a Michael McDowell, who is a very good road racer, same thing. When you look at a Kyle Busch, you have to make a decision of, okay, when everybody starts peeling off with 2 to go here at Sonoma or 3 to go, are we going to stay out and get points and then start in the back, or are we going to do what we got to do to get a good finish? So it sucks to be in these scenarios. I've been there, man, and that's Blake Shelton literally asked to come on our show because he's like, I want to get on here and talk about folks not going for the win and going for points. Because as Clint Boyer, there were years where we did this, and then you end up, you're like, oh, man, we're good, we're 12th, we're 13th, and it's like another winner hits. So the guy right now that is, 14th in points, which is Chris Buescher, he's nervous. He's real nervous, but he's also got a race for freaking points.
I think Kyle Busch uses this stuff. This is usually when he comes out at some of his best. He comes out of these things and just he can perform uses under pressure. This as fuel, and he comes out and he'll end up winning a race. I could very easily see him winning, in the next 3 weeks.
We're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll hear y'all's thoughts on Reaction Theater.
Now it's time for one of our favorite segments on DBC, Reaction Theater, where it's your turn to be heard. Reaction Theater is brought to you every week by Consumer Cellular.
Consumer Cellular has fast, reliable, nationwide coverage as the leading carriers, but with plans as low as $20 a month.
And now, for a limited time, get their best deal of the year. Buy any phone when you switch to Consumer Cellular and get 2 months of free service. That's right, the same fast, reliable, nationwide coverage as Big Wireless, now with 2 months free. Proof the best things in life really do come in twos. See ConsumerCellular.com for promotional details. Jay, let's go to the calls.
Dear Freddie, we got some questions that we need to ask. Do. Dear Freddie, got some answers and we need them fast. Anyways, hey Freddie, want to say thanks just for having all the good takes, because Brett has none. Like, negative amounts. Everything he says is stupid. I just can't deal with him, man. Freddie, we need you back. I can't deal with how dumb Brett is. It's too much Tito's in the water. Get that man some help.
Oh, he needs help, all right. I'll give you that. Oh, hey, Brett, I don't think he's a fan of yours.
And I don't give a
The dude that just jumped on Jesse Love's car is insane. He is an animal. That was awesome.
So Jesse and I were texting yesterday about the possibility of creating a shirt with a dude dry humping his hood, and we put Blaine in on the text thread. I think it's one of the coolest things I've seen all year. Like this is WWE. The guy comes in off the top rope, and he's on pit road.
Barstool tweeted it,
and he's a big boy. Like, he looked like me jumping on the hood of this thing. And the sound that NASCAR Chasm put with it was freaking phenomenal.
I didn't see that.
Yeah,
I can't imagine. I mean, the I tell you, the best part about it, I don't know if this is just a replay I saw, but the best part is you don't see him coming. No. Like, Jesse's pulling in the box, and all of a sudden,
boom,
belly flop onto the
Barstool Sports even tweeted it.
Yeah,
that's how big.
I thought it was my buddy Large from over there. It looked like him, but now he's lost about 100 pounds, and I don't even recognize him anymore.
Hey y'all, playing NASCAR Thunder last night till like 3 a.m. Getting my ass handed to me. All I kept hearing is, "The car all right? Car all right?" Like, you know what? F you, Brett.
You, Brett? Was it you?
I don't know.
I think it was.
I don't remember.
It depends on what game it is. I was the last game that was not good. I was a spotter of the worst NASCAR game in history, I think.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks
What
a lot.
the did Austin Cindric do to deserve that much karma? Bell dominated, motor blew. Blaney kicking butt, runs out of gas. What type of good karma does he have? Also, it's only acceptable now that you do burnouts and drift the entire road course after a win. That was pretty bad.
That was super bad.
That was really bad.
And literally, McMurray was on TV saying, I don't know many of us that could have done that. It takes that much talent / car control. By the way, Jamie did a phenomenal job on TV. McMurray did during the Xfinity race. And he and Adam, I can't talk. He and Adam Alexander together they're really good. I could see those guys having a legitimate shot to be the guys next year.
Speaking of Jamie and television, do we got to get to the bottom of this Taylor Gray thing? Like, why is Jamie?
What? I saw, like, what happened?
I don't know what the context was, what we were talking about, but somehow she ended up calling Taylor Gray. I think it was Taylor, a tall, thick young man or something like that. I don't know where what train of thought got lost where, but maybe a Freudian slip of some sort.
Phil Parsons was just trying to pretend like it never happened. Have you heard the whole clip?
I didn't hear the whole. I just heard her clip.
Phil Parsons just keeps going like nothing, like nothing happened.
Oh boy,
is he thick?
I think she was referencing the brothers and how obviously, they're just different. I don't know how to explain it. I have no comment.
You wouldn't explain it by saying he's a tall, thick.
But you saw he changed his Twitter bio.
Oh yeah, which I would too. Somebody started giving me comments. Thick
ain't a bad thing.
Freddie, you are a tall, thick young man.
I'm not very tall. I'm pretty
not
thick.
very young either.
To all Orion Blaney fans in attendance at the race today, I just want to let you know the tallest building in St. Louis is the Gateway Arch. That's all.
Where is the tub? Is the tub making a return?
Boys, I was sitting here planning some super funny, super clever. Something about Ryan Blaney dodging a missile,
I don't know, but I'm filling this tub back up. Go 12.
I promise you, I had no idea that was coming. Go 12, poor guy.
I feel bad for him. Like, damn.
I mean, and it's one thing if you know it's coming. You know what I mean? Like if I'm close, I've been saving, but we run out. Yeah. Like you're just cruising along and all of a sudden, what's that? Something's breaking, you know? Like, God almighty.
Well, I got the bath bombs ready too. We got a choice of Oscar posters.
Oscar?
Or Whirlpool. I'm thinking a little fancier. I think I'm going Whirlpool this time around. So, well, it was good. It's been a rough 3 weeks, so the 12 bathtub is ready to go again.
I don't blame you at all.
Attention, all Ryan Blaney fans. Please enter the bathtub. Single file, please, one by one. Watch your step. Floor is slippery. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, back in the tub.
Back in. Careful.
Yeah. Just single file backing in the tub. Co-ed. This could get ugly quick.
When I tell you that 75% of the reaction theater calls were bathtub calls,
I'm sure.
all of them.
Yeah.
It could have been in the entire reaction theater.
Blaney's got a lot of people in the bathtub. He gets them in there.
That's a T-shirt we need to design for Couch Racer is a tub with the number 12 on it.
That's it.
With a wrap.
Yeah.
Yeah, with all these people sitting in it.
Just single file backing into each other.
Yeah. That's the shirt we need. That's funny.
That's it. It's coming out. You know what? As a matter of fact.
Oh, thank you, all the Blaney fans, for calling in on that one. Well, to leave an audio message, just call our number 704. Oh man! I was thinking about the visual.
Were you giving your own phone number?
So you're getting ready to give 6988 numbers.
You want me to give that number out?
To leave an audio message, just call our number 704.
If you want to back into a bathtub, call me at 631.
704-802-9572.
704-277.
Moving on.
We should give out Casey's number.
Let's just give it out one week. We should accidentally put it on the paper for her to read and see if she realizes.
My buddy Joey Klontz, he gave out my phone number one time to somebody that I didn't want to have it, and the person reached out to me, and I'm like, how the did they get my number? So I'm literally going through, and I'm like, I'm going to ask all my close friends. And Joey's like, yeah, I gave it to her. I tweeted that his number was Dale Jr.'s number. And his phone blew completely up. He's like, you asked, what did you just do? And I'm like, I tweeted your number as Dale Jr. Did you get any messages? He's like, yeah, I'm going to have to change my number. I was like, don't give my number out again. Like,
those would be good ones.
That's when Twitter was like brand new too. So it was, Consumer Cellular is the official wireless partner of Brett Keselowski, RFK Racing, and the number 6 car. If they can count on Consumer Cellular, so can you.
Brad Keselowski and RFK Racing know speed, and that's just what you get with Consumer Cellular. TJ, Brad's back in the Consumer Cellular scheme for Nashville on June 30th. I know you're looking forward to seeing that bright orange car back on track again.
Oh, yeah. There'll be no missing Brad on track in Nashville in that scheme. I'm hoping we manage another top 5 like we did last time we ran this scheme earlier in the year at Phoenix. Consumer Cellular has award-winning 100% U.S.-based customer service centers, so you can always get the help you need. It's like having your pit crew right there when you need them.
Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage as the leading carriers, but with plans starting as low as $20 a month. There are no activation fees and no contracts. Consumer Cellular customers stay because they want to, not because they have to. They don't need to trap their customers.
Yeah, one of the best things there is here is you can even try Consumer Cellular for 30 days risk-free. If you don't love it, cancel it. But we'll bet you love it.
And now, for a limited time, get their best deal of the year. Buy any phone when you switch to Consumer Cellular and get 2 months of free service. That's right, the same fast, reliable, nationwide coverage as Big Wireless, now with 2 months free. Proof the best things in life really do come in twos. See ConsumerCellular.com for promotional details.
Oh, moving on to Ask DBC. Just use hashtag AskDBC on X to send us some questions. This first one is from Jared. With Carson scoring his second top 10 of the year, how worried should Corey LaJoie be? Seems like Hocevar is outperforming Corey every single week.
I saw a stat somewhere, and I can't remember if it was one that Trey Ryan sent us or somebody just saw it on Twitter. He might even posted it on Twitter, but Hocevar has 2 top 10s now on non-drafting tracks, and Corey has none in his career over there at Spire, or maybe even his career period, I'm sure. Obviously, you have to be worried if you're Corey LaJoie. Like I said earlier, I think he gets another year in that car, but still, and like yesterday, they kind of put themselves in a bad spot yesterday where, track position was king, and I get it. But the last thing you ever want to be, the last guy you ever want to be on the racetrack is the last guy without tires. And that was the one restart where we got a really good start. He was probably restarting around 10th, 12th, I would think. And we passed a bunch of guys, and we're now up to about 14th, and he, I don't know if somebody tried to, somebody moved him or he just got real loose off of 2, but he's sideways and stacked the whole top line up, and we got buried in traffic because of that. But yeah, they need to step it up if Corey, I think, like I said, I think he's got another year left, but if he wants to survive any longer than that, he's definitely got to make some inroads somewhere.
Next one is from Chris. How busted is your bracket after week 1? This is a sore topic. I was nervous when Kyle Busch wrecked out until I remembered he was going head-to-head against Barry. And I believe there are 0 perfect brackets.
Yeah, according to Blake's text I saw from Dirty Mo there, 0, which is not surprising because it's so hard. You look at it, it's not like the NCAA tournament. You look at it and you're like, okay, this is an easy win. If everything goes like Ryan Blaney is out of the bracket, he's going to win the race, and something happens and he's out of the bracket. And then you look at Barry. I think Barry, like I said, Barry and Bush were against each other. They finished last and second to last, but one of them's advancing. So it's a weird deal. I haven't even looked to see how bad mine is busted, but
a lot of surprises in the top 10.
Yeah.
I mean, Hocevar, Haley, Dillon.
Yeah, I mean, like they lost their brackets. Unfortunately, like a lot of them, I think, lost. But like Haley lost to Denny Hamlin by,
barely.
If Denny has a bad pit stop or something,
right,
he's going to get knocked out. Truex did get knocked out by, I think, Austin Dillon. He was the number 2 seed. So yeah, I mean, it's just
Zane Smith had a decent finish yesterday too, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he was right in front of us, maybe 20th, something like that, 21st or 19th, maybe.
Like we talked about him, he's got to run all the laps. Like he cannot go to Trackhouse next year as a rookie. Like and you're going to go as a rookie if you're not. The problem ain't there's no practice. There's no opportunities to get better. I mean, I was in a meeting last week where an executive mentioned that it takes 90 to 100 races to be a good Cup driver these days and to have enough experience. So, like when you look at,
is he going to go to Trackhouse next year?
I mean, is he not?
Sounds like there's a few people.
Sounds like they got 3 charters and 4 drivers.
They got more drivers and they got charters. That's for sure. We actually kind of put Chris Rice on the spot last week and said we know SVG didn't come over here to run Xfinity, not forever, right? I mean, it was even a surprise he got to run full-time Xfinity this year. So that's a good question. Maybe.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's a question. It's
a fair question, but he's got to run all laps. He's got to get experience in the first half of this year. Man, he struggled to do that. So there's only 11 races left before the playoffs start, and we know what happens when a playoff starts. All the playoff drivers run up front.
Yeah.
This next one is from Kenny. With lack of passing being a big topic, and considering how the internet went out halfway through the race, would limiting SMT data sharing help improve it by putting racecraft back in the driver's hands? Brett, you have some thoughts on this one for sure.
I hate SMT. I'm not saying it shouldn't be available during the week for you to go back and maybe get better, but, man, to have the best race car drivers in America and their intellectual property for the masses to see, like TJ shouldn't be able to see that in the middle of a race. Neither should any crew chief. You shouldn't be able to relay to a driver, how much more brake somebody is or isn't using, or – like, I despise SMT of all the in our sport that I am not a fan of, including these tires. I despise SMT data being available to teams.
The teams have war rooms set up now where they're solely, I mean, not solely, but one of their main focus is just SMT and relaying information like Brett said. He's using 20% less brake into turn 2 or you got to put, keep 10% throttle and don't come all the way back to 0. That's where he's beating you. Like you said, I think it could be a good tool to go back and look and see, but it's still then, like, I agree with you that I don't like, it took I don't know if you've ever even looked at SMT, but like when the first time I saw, and it's not so much now with the newer car, but like this is 3 or 4 years ago when I first saw Denny Hamlin's throttle trace, I was like, what the is that? It looked like a heartbeat. It's just like, it's just everybody else is kind of like this trace where it's, 100% throttles, eases down to 0, goes back up to 1. Danny's looked just up and down. I was like, what is he doing? And I went to another race to see, like, does he do this everywhere? And it was pretty much the same everywhere. But like, and he was gaining an advantage from doing that. If you laid it over the card animations on the thing, you could see where he was gaining ground by doing it. Now all you had to do was look at that and realize, oh, he's done that. That's how he's gaining ground. Okay, I'm gonna do that now.
Well, Denny even knows exactly where SVG was beating them last year at Chicago in the rain because of SMT. That's bullshit. Yeah. That should be SVG's talent, and it should not be. It should be a secret. It drives me bonkers that we have it. I hate it.
Well, we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we'll hear who wins the Idiot of the Week. First topic.
First topic of what idiot.
Oh my gosh, I'm so
Casey,
tired.
welcome to the award.
Thanks.
There's a lot of idiots out there.
Feel free to cut that out. Brett?
My idiot's a fun idiot. Which is fun most of the time. To win What an Idiot is an honor.
Yeah. I agree.
My What an Idiot is Clint Boyer.
Oh, God.
Because Clint called me last week to talk about his truck venture that he's going on. And if you know Clint as well as I do, and a lot of you see his personality, very high-strung, very impatient, cannot sit still. So he is spending more time getting ready for this truck race, doing drug tests and the different portals that we have to do. And what do you call them things?
Yeah.
Models? Portals?
Drug tests?
No, we have
Well, the drug
seminars.
test took him over an hour because he said he had an appointment, and when he got there, they didn't know who he was or that he was coming. So for him to have to sit there an hour, and he said his eyeballs were floating, he had to pee so bad. Like, I would have paid to have been sitting in this waiting room with this guy because he's so fidgety, and I would have paid $1,000 to watch him go through this whole experience. He is spending more time doing the BS stuff, the physical. He had to go get a physical, which I mean, who doesn't want a physical at 40 years old?
The other videos are
they pop those gloves.
Those other videos are an hour and a half long.
Oh, easily.
The gambling and diversity
training. So he's going to be about 6 hours into his qualification process to go run this 2-hour truck race, and I love it. I'm here for it.
I have two. One I don't know is real. Was that Penske congratulating Ryan Blaney?
Yes.
Tweet real?
Apparently.
They hit the button a little too soon.
I guess.
Somebody's getting an award there. But one of ours is going to go to a new friend of ours, or a friend of yours, really. I've known him for a little while, but I've really not become.
I have a new friend?
Yeah, Connor Hall.
Oh, I do have a new friend.
Poor guy wins the race, and so he wins by, I don't know, 7,000ths of a second, right? And he gets out in victory lane, and he's not really very well liked at Langley Speedway. I think he wins too much there. Nick Payne was telling me he's got like 14 out of 15 wins there this year. But when they got to the breakdown of the finish, they're 3 wide. If you haven't seen it, go look it up on Flow Racing. It's an unbelievable finish. But they're 3 wide off of turn 4, coming to the line. And he said, "Man, my spotter just told me stay in it, stay in it, stay in it." And I'm like, "Were you thinking about lifting? Like what? Like what? That's what got it for you? Your spotter telling you to stay in it? Like, all right. I guess that's a good thing. Hey, thank God you stayed in it. I appreciate it. But
thank God he listened.
Thank God you listened to the spotter telling you to stay in the throttle down the front straightaway.
I had a breakfast meeting with Connor a couple weeks ago. He actually stayed at your buddy Nick's house, and he said, "I stayed at one of your best friend's houses." And I was like, "Who?" And he's like, "Nick." I said, "Oh, I love to give Nick shit."
Nick's fun, yeah.
And I saw Nick on a scooter picture this week.
Yeah. Nick,
when's your scooter picture?
I don't think you're going to see that one anytime soon. I don't know. I don't usually tend to make it to the track walk.
Nick's a professional ball fluffer.
He is very good at massaging. Massages. Let's just say massages. He loves meetings. The man loves a meeting.
Again, I love to give him that crap. I'm literally over here laughing. I can't hardly catch my breath. But Connor and I met because he really wants to get into some truck races, potentially even between now and the end of the year. So that's something that I may be able to help him with. But listen, man, the kid He's aggressive. He'll lay the bumper to you. He ain't afraid to go out there and make a show out of it.
No, defending National Weekly Series champion. I think he's probably got to be close to the Car Stewards point lead, I would assume, right now. I know he had a bad race mixed in somewhere, but he's got to be close. Blake's
wearing his shirt. He's so
Blake's
popular.
got his shirt on. Is he leading points?
He wasn't going into the last race, but he's probably close.
Probably close now. So, I mean, he's – and listen, we just saw how good – the Car Series, the Car Tour is what we talked about, is one of the most competitive series in the country of all forms of racing right now.
Just listen, hear me. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but imagine taking all of those guys right now and putting them in trucks.
Yeah.
What that field would look like.
I mean, we saw Butterbean. You know, you look at Butterbean that went to Wilkesboro a couple weeks ago. Now, granted, that's a place he's run before, and if I took him to a mile and a half, he's going to struggle. But – you know, he drove through the field twice to a top 5 finish. You know, these guys in these lower series that we talk about and just need to get a break. Connor's definitely a great example of that. Carson Quapple, Brent Cruz. Listen, if you don't know Brent Cruz yet, you're getting ready to find out about Brent Cruz because he's going to skyrocket through the ranks.
He's the next Connor
Zilic.
Yeah.
You know, these guys are coming. Luke Baldwin's another one. Modified talent. Carson Lofton. There's a lot of young talent coming up through the series that they're going to be there eventually. They just need breaks, and unfortunately, a lot of it's related to money. But hopefully, Brett can find them all sponsors.
Time for our race picks for Sonoma. Freddie, congratulations on your win
Woo woo.
in St. Louis.
Your guy finished 12th.
I know.
That's luck right there.
I even took Chris Rice's advice and still got it wrong.
What else is new? Don't ever listen to Chris Rice.
Brett, you get to pick first.
This one's easy. I got 4 of the top 6 guys available from last year where they finished. I'm going with a guy that I mentioned earlier who has nothing to lose. A.J. Allmendinger.
Damn it. TJ.
Oh boy, I'm
trying to buy him some time.
Is Van Gisbergen running?
Sure.
Is he running or not?
Nobody knows.
Yeah, sure he is.
Pick him.
I'm gonna go get the entry list. Hang on.
Oh God.
Is he running or not?
Forever.
We don't know. I don't know.
It has not been shared.
Well, damn.
I mean, Brett probably knows, but I don't.
Brett.
Pick him.
I mean, based on who Brett picked, I'd guess he's not running.
All right. Well, hell with it then. I'll go with Reddick. Nope, I'm going with McDowell. My bad. McDowell.
Can't change picks.
I don't know
Just
if
did.
he changed.
What the is this?
Are we allowing this change?
There wasn't anything picked at. It was
mine?
still my turn, technically.
Whatever. I'll take Suarez.
I'll take Van Gisbergen. No, I'm just kidding. I'll take Busher. All right, TJ. See you later.
All right.
Thanks for coming by for 20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean,
Appreciate
I feel
you.
like I've barely been here. That room must be hot because I see the garage door's been cracked.
It's hot.
Brett's.
Go get sunburnt somewhere for me.
All right. I'll try not to tweet when I'm at the beach like you.
Don't puke in the bushes.
Well, before we close out the show, I want to know what we can expect for Sonoma.
Red wine.
Well,
red wine.
Besides that, I meant the new surface.
These boys probably don't know who UB40 is.
No.
Y'all know that song? Yeah.
I heard.
Blake, you know who UB40 is? Red wine? Okay. All right. I'll take it back.
We're really on track here.
I heard up to 4 seconds faster a lap. Wow. New surface. Obviously, it's a long lap.
Is the surface gonna pill up?
Well, we're gonna find out. We got practice.
Denny
on
will
Friday.
have a conniption.
Denny will be buying cases.
I don't
of
even know
red
how to
wine.
spell conniption, but that's a cool word. Do you know how to spell conniption,
No,
Casey? Do you even know what it means?
It's a K. It starts with
Yes,
a K.
I do know what it means. I'm just surprised you said it.
But yeah, it'll be interesting. They honestly,
I've got the most famous second spotter in history.
is it SVG?
SVG is my second
Who's
spotter.
your driver?
Here's my favorite part
It's a
about
problem when your driver's not as famous as your spotter. I don't even know who's driving.
Will Brown.
Will Brown
is driving it. Who I'm going to meet on Wednesday or Tuesday or Wednesday of this week. And SVG was like, he's like me. He comes. I can't speak
How was that?
New Zealand.
What was that voice?
I don't know what New Zealand sounds like.
Do you want to try that again?
No, don't try it again.
Whatever.
We'll be canceled tomorrow.
Whatever accent that SVG has, he was like, he's like me.
Maybe we go to Evan. Should we go to Evan for the SVG voice?
Yeah, we go to Evan. He's like, he won't want to hear a lot of talking. I was like, great, because I ain't gonna want to do a lot of talking. But it's going to be different, obviously. it's so much more competitive in the Cup Series in these road courses than those guys. The beating and the banging, like it's gonna be fun. I'm excited. How's the weather? We good?
I don't know. I haven't looked.
No.
I have not been part of the world this week.
I wouldn't trust if TJ was here. I wouldn't trust his weather forecast because he said everything was great for Coke 600 and D500, and that really worked out well for him.
Great.
What's your next race, Casey? Are you done till baby comes?
I was at Charlotte. Does Indiana Midget Week count? Because apparently I'll.
Are you going there this week?
Yeah, but I am not able to travel very soon.
When do you do?
August 16th.
Nope, 13th. Sorry, it's right by my birthday.
Oh, 85 every day. It's gonna be beautiful.
It's a beautiful place. I mean, beautiful. Like
I wish we'd go out there when it's green.
I know. There's not a bad seat in the house. You kind of. I tell everybody they're like, where to sit. I go, just get a ticket and wander around. Like,
I know I'm picky, but I either want to go when it's green. Or I want to go when all the grapes are on the vine, like later, early fall, because, man, all those grapes on the vine are beautiful.
Same. There's wine. That's all you really need.
You'll be fine.
There's definitely wine. I'm definitely drinking some.
Oh, I forgot one thing.
What?
Shout out to one person. I gave him a little bit earlier. Justin Allgaier, top 10 in the Cup race yesterday. Congratulations to him. Right? I saw that on it was on the bottom line.
I did see that on the Fox ticker.
Top 10 for Justin. So congrats to him.
Shane Van Gisbergen ran 30th.
Did he?
Yeah.
Well, that's not a good run. No. I mean, that's no. Justin, top 10. That's a big deal.
No. Yeah.
So congrats to him.
Oh, well, on that note, thank y'all so much for listening. Thank you to TJ for spending just 20 minutes of his time. It really means a lot to us.
Thanks for coming, TJ.
Oh, enjoy Sonoma. Please drink some wine for me. Have a great week.
We out.